The doctor's eyes went wide when she looked at my chart. She wasn't even looking at the baby on the screen anymore. She was staring at something else. Something that made her face turn white. Then she did something I'll never forget. She locked the door. Actually locked it. Like we were hiding from someone dangerous. "Sarah," she whispered. "I know your husband. And you need to run." My heart started beating so fast. What could possibly be wrong? Is my baby sick? Am I dying? But what she said next was worse than anything I could imagine. "Your husband planned this pregnancy. He's been lying to you about everything. I have proof." I actually laughed at her. Like genuinely laughed out loud. "That's crazy," I said. "Michael loves me. We've been trying for a baby for 3 years. Why would he lie about that?" She looked at me with these sad, sad eyes. "Because he's not who you think he is. And if you go home today without knowing the truth, you might never get another chance to escape." Then she opened a folder. And my entire world fell apart. "My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 30 years old. I work at a small bookstore in Texas that my aunt left me when she died. It's not fancy, but it's mine. The building, the business, everything. Worth about $1.5 million. Not super rich but comfortable. My Aunt Rachel raised me after my parents died in a car crash when I was 7. She never had kids of her own, so she left everything to me. The bookstore, her house, her savings. She always told me to be careful about who I let into my life. Men can smell money, Sarah, she'd say. Make sure someone loves you, not what you have. I thought I'd found that person. I met Michael Hayes 3 years ago at a book reading event. He seemed so different from other guys. He was a teacher at the local high school. Made $35,000 a year. Drove an old truck. Wore the same 3 shirts on rotation. He didn't care about money at all. Or so I thought. He'd actually been studying me for 6 months before we accidentally met. Michael came to my bookstore 12 times before he ever talked to me. I checked the security footage later. 12 times. Each visit, he'd browse for exactly 20 minutes. Never bought anything. Just watched me. Learning my schedule. My habits. What I liked. Then one day, he finally introduced himself. Talked about his favorite book, which just happened to be my favorite too. What a coincidence, right? He'd seen me recommend it to 5 different customers. He played me like a piano. And I fell for every single note. We dated for 8 months before he proposed. Michael was so thoughtful. He remembered everything I said. He brought me coffee every morning. He helped at the bookstore without being asked. He seemed absolutely perfect. My best friend Jessica didn't trust him though. "Something's off," she kept saying. "He's too nice. Too perfect. Nobody's that perfect." I told her she was jealous. That she couldn't stand to see me happy. We stopped talking for almost a year because of him. Looking back, Jessica was the only person who saw through his mask. Michael cried when he proposed. Real tears running down his face. He said I was the best thing that ever happened to him. That he'd been lost before me. That he wanted to build a family with me. I said yes immediately. We got married 3 months later at my aunt's old house. Small ceremony. Just close friends and family. Michael's parents didn't come. He said they were difficult people who didn't approve of anything he did. Another lie. His parents were dead. Had been for 5 years. I didn't find that out until much, much later. After the wedding, Michael suggested I add him to the bookstore ownership. "We're a team now," he said. "What's yours is mine, right?" Something in my gut said no. My aunt's voice in my head saying, "Be careful, Sarah." So I told him maybe later. After we have kids and everything's settled. He smiled and said okay. But his smile looked angry. Like I'd ruined some big plan. I ignored that feeling. I wish I hadn't. That was the first time I saw the real Michael. Just for a second. Then the mask came back on. We tried for a baby naturally for 2 whole years. Nothing happened. So we went to a fertility doctor. The results were shocking. Michael had basically no sperm. Like almost none at all. The doctor said natural pregnancy was impossible. Impossible. Michael cried in the parking lot for 30 minutes. He kept saying sorry over and over, like it was his fault. I held him and said we'd figure something out together. We could try treatments, or adopt, or use a donor. Whatever we needed to do. I thought he was sad about not being able to have kids. But he wasn't sad about that. He was sad because his plan was getting complicated. See, Michael needed me to get pregnant. That was the whole point. But it had to be his way, under his control. So he did something absolutely evil. He found a fertility clinic 2 hours away. Said they were the best in the state. Insisted we go there instead of the local one. I trusted him. He set up all the appointments. Filled out all the paperwork. I just showed up and did what they told me. The first treatment didn't work. I cried for days. Michael seemed frustrated more than sad. Like I'd failed a test. The second treatment 6 months ago worked. Positive pregnancy test. 2 pink lines. I was so happy. Michael smiled and hugged me. Then he said something strange. We should update your will now, he said. You know, in case something happens during delivery. The baby needs to be protected. Seemed reasonable at the time. Responsible even. So I scheduled an appointment with my lawyer for next week. Everything seemed fine for the first few months. Michael was attentive. Cited. He talked about baby names and nursery colors. But then things started changing. Little things at first. He started spending more time on his phone. Taking calls in the other room. Coming home later and later from school. He said he was helping with after-school programs. Extra tutoring sessions. I wanted to believe him. But something felt wrong. Really, really wrong. And I couldn't figure out what it was. Before we continue, please subscribe to Flex Revenge Unfold and tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Your support means everything. Now back to the story. Michael's phone was always face down now. He changed his password. Started closing doors when he talked to people. When I asked who he was talking to, he'd get defensive. Why are you interrogating me? He'd snap. Don't you trust your own husband? He made me feel crazy for asking normal questions. That's what manipulators do. They make you feel wrong for noticing their lies. I found a receipt in his truck one day. Dinner at a fancy restaurant downtown. $340. For 2 people. We never went to fancy restaurants. Michael always said they were a waste of money. So who did he take? When I asked, he had an answer ready. Principal's retirement dinner, he said smoothly. The school paid for it. That's just my copy of the receipt. Sounded believable. But something about the way he said it felt rehearsed. Like he'd been practicing. I let it go. I shouldn't have. More receipts appeared. A jewelry store. $450. For you, he said. An anniversary present I'm planning. But our anniversary had passed 3 months ago. Hotel receipts. Always the same hotel. Always during the week. Teacher conference, he explained. It ran late, so I stayed over rather than drive home tired. Every single excuse was perfect. Too perfect. Like he'd thought of them before I even asked. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. Normal people stumble over explanations. Liars have them ready. Michael started asking about my bookstore more and more. How much was it worth now? What would happen if I sold it? Could we access the money from my aunt's trust? Every conversation somehow turned to money. When I said no to selling, he'd get quiet. Give me the silent treatment for days. Then he'd suddenly be sweet again. Apologize. Say he was just stressed about becoming a father. This cycle happened over and over. Push for money. Get rejected. Punish me with silence. Come back sweet. Push again. It was exhausting. One night I woke up at 3 a.m. Michael wasn't in bed. I found him in the kitchen whispering into his phone. It's almost done, he was saying. Just a few more months. Then everything will be set. He saw me and hung up immediately. Smiled this creepy smile. Just talking to my brother about fantasy football, he said. Michael doesn't have a brother. I know because I asked his supposed brother at the wedding who was actually his cousin. But I was too tired and pregnant to argue. So I went back to bed and pretended I believed him. My friend Jessica reached out after a year of silence. She said she had a bad feeling. That she needed to tell me something important about Michael. But I was still angry at her for not trusting him. So I ignored her messages. Blocked her number. Chose my husband over my best friend of 15 years. That was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. Jessica had seen something I was too blind to see. She'd been trying to warn me. And I pushed her away. I wish I could take that back. At 4 months pregnant, I had a regular ultrasound scheduled. Michael said he couldn't come. Big parent-teacher conferences at school. Very important. Couldn't miss it. So I went alone to the clinic 2 hours away. The same clinic Michael had chosen. I should have thought that was weird. Why drive 2 hours when there are 3 good clinics in our own town? But I trusted him. Biggest mistake of my life. I laid back on that exam table completely clueless that everything was about to explode. The ultrasound tech was new. Young girl, maybe 23. She seemed nervous when she pulled up my file on the computer. Kept glancing at the door like someone might walk in. She did the ultrasound quickly. Barely said anything. Then she left and came back with a doctor I'd never seen before. Dr. Rebecca Porter. She had this look on her face like she'd just seen a ghost. Or maybe a monster. "Can you give us a moment?" she said to the tech. The girl practically ran out of the room. That's when I knew something was very, very wrong. Dr. Porter didn't say anything at first. She just stared at my chart. At Michael's name written at the top. Her hands started shaking. Actually shaking like she was scared. Then she walked to the door. Locked it. Came back and sat down next to me. "Sarah," she said quietly. "I know this is going to sound insane. But you need to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you. Your life might depend on it." My heart was pounding. What could possibly be wrong? Is my baby sick? Do I have cancer? What? "I know your husband," Dr. Porter said. "Michael Hayes. I know him because he did the exact same thing to my sister 5 years ago. Same plan. Same lies. Same everything." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "What are you talking about? A plan?" She pulled out a folder from her desk. Inside were documents, photos, messages. "Michael isn't a teacher," she said. "He was a teacher. He got fired 5 years ago for having an affair with a parent. A wealthy parent. He convinced her to marry him. Got her pregnant. Then waited for the right moment." "What moment?" I whispered. Dr. Porter looked at me with so much sadness. "The moment he could claim the baby wasn't his. That she'd cheated. That he was the victim. Then he'd take everything in the divorce. Her house. Her savings. Everything." My mind was spinning. That's insane. Why would anyone do that? "Because Michael is a professional con artist," she said. "He targets women with money who want families. He did it to my sister Rebecca. Before that, 2 other women we know about. You're just the latest victim." I started crying. This can't be real. We did IVF. The baby is his. How could he claim it isn't? Dr. Porter shook her head. "That's the genius of it. He didn't use his sperm for the IVF. He paid someone at this clinic to use donor sperm instead. You're carrying a donor's baby. Not Michael's. He has all the paperwork ready to prove it. Right after the baby is born, he'll suggest a DNA test. Just for fun. For the memory book. Whatever. And when it shows he's not the father, he'll destroy you." I felt like I might throw up. "But wait. How do you know all this?" Dr. Porter pulled out more papers. "Because the tech who did your IVF. She was the same one who did my sister's. She felt so guilty after what happened to Rebecca that when she saw your name with Michael's on the schedule, she called me immediately. She kept copies of everything. The orders Michael gave her. The payment records. The donor ID number. Everything. She's willing to testify. She can't live with the guilt anymore. She showed me everything. Bank transfers from Michael to the IVF tech. $25,000. Messages between Michael and the tech discussing the plan. Photos of Michael with his girlfriend. Some woman he'd been dating for 8 months while married to me. Hotel receipts. Restaurant bills. Everything. He's going to wait until the baby is born, Dr. Porter explained. Then spring the trap. Claim you cheated. Take everything you own. Leave you with nothing. That's what he does. That's who he is. I sat there in total shock. How could I have been so stupid? All the signs were there. The secret phone calls. The lies about his family. The obsession with my money. My aunt tried to warn me. Jessica tried to warn me. I ignored everyone. Dr. Porter put her hand on my shoulder. This isn't your fault. He's very, very good at this. He's been doing it for years. But now you have something he doesn't expect. You have proof. Before he can hurt you, you can hurt him. And believe me, after what he did to my sister, I want to help you destroy him. Dr. Porter's sister Rebecca had lost everything to Michael 5 years ago. Her house, her business, her reputation. Everyone thought she was the cheater. She was the bad person. Michael walked away with almost $1 million and moved to the next town. The next victim. Rebecca never recovered, Dr. Porter said with tears in her eyes. She tried to warn people about him, but nobody believed her. She seemed crazy, bitter. He destroyed her so completely that her own family stopped talking to her. But now we had evidence. Real, solid, undeniable evidence. We had the IVF tech ready to confess. We had the payment records. We had Michael's messages planning the whole thing. We had his girlfriend's testimony. We had everything. What do? I asked Dr. Porter. She smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who's been waiting years for revenge. You go home. Normal. Don't let him suspect anything. Meanwhile, I'll connect you with a lawyer. A good one. And we'll build a case that will put Michael in prison where he belongs. I drove home in a daze. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel. When I pulled into the driveway, Michael's truck was there. He was home early. I took 3 deep breaths, put on a smile, walked inside like nothing had happened. Michael was in the kitchen making dinner. "Hey honey," he said, all cheerful and loving. "How was the appointment? Is the baby okay?" I showed him the ultrasound photo. "Perfect," I said. "Everything's absolutely perfect." He hugged me. I wanted to vomit. That night I lay in bed next to a monster and pretended everything was fine. Michael fell asleep within minutes. Peaceful. Content. Completely unaware that his entire plan had just fallen apart. Meanwhile, I was awake until 4 in the morning. Planning. Thinking. Getting angry. This man had lied to me for 3 years. Manipulated me. Isolated me from my friends. All so he could steal my aunt's hard-earned money. Well, game over, Michael. You just picked the wrong woman to mess with. The next morning I called in sick to the bookstore. Then I drove 3 hours to a city where nobody knew me. I met with the lawyer Dr. Porter recommended. Her name was Patricia Chen. She'd been practicing law for 25 years. She'd seen everything. I told her the whole story. Showed her all the evidence Dr. Porter had given me. When I finished, Patricia leaned back in her chair and smiled. "Your husband made a critical mistake," she said. "He underestimated you. Men like him always do. And that mistake is going to cost him everything." Patricia explained the plan. First, we'd gather more evidence. Track Michael's movements. Record his phone calls if possible. Document the affair. Get statements from the IVF tech and anyone else involved. Build an airtight case. Then, at exactly the right moment, we'd strike. "We're going to get him arrested for fraud," Patricia said. "And conspiracy. And probably embezzlement, since I'm guessing he's taken money from somewhere to fund all this. When we're done, he won't just lose everything. He'll go to prison." I hired a private investigator. A retired police detective named Marcus Webb. He was expensive, but Patricia said he was the best. Within 1 week, Marcus had everything. Photos of Michael with his girlfriend. They'd been together for almost a year. Hotel records, restaurant receipts, text messages Marcus somehow accessed that were absolutely damning. Michael telling this woman he loved her, that he'd be free soon with enough money to start over. The woman had no idea Michael was married. When Marcus told her, she was furious. There was more. Michael had stolen money from the high school. He was in charge of the student activity fund. Over the past 2 years, he'd taken almost $60,000. Small amounts each time. Nobody had noticed yet, but they would. Marcus also discovered Michael's real past. He'd done this 3 times before me. 3 other women. 3 other babies that weren't his. 3 other lives destroyed. He'd made over $2 million from these scams. And he was living like a king while pretending to be a poor teacher. The girlfriend, Ashley, agreed to testify once she learned the truth. She was horrified. He told me he was divorced, she kept saying. He said his ex-wife was crazy and dangerous. Had no idea. I'm so sorry. I almost felt bad for her. She was a victim too. Just a different kind. Michael had lied to both of us. Used both of us. But Ashley's testimony would be crucial. She could prove the affair. Prove Michael had been planning this. Prove he wasn't the devoted husband he pretended to be. I went home every night and pretended nothing was wrong. Made dinner. Talked about baby names. Let Michael put his hand on my belly. It was the hardest acting job of my life. Michael had no idea what was coming. He thought he was so smart. So clever. Meanwhile, I was building a trap that would snap shut around him like a steel vice. And I was going to enjoy every second of watching him squirm. The hardest call I made was to Jessica, my best friend who I'd pushed away for a whole year. She answered on the first ring. Sarah. Her voice was shocked. Is everything okay? I started crying immediately. Jessica, you were right about everything. I'm so sorry. I should have listened. There was a long pause. Then Jessica said the most beautiful words. I don't care about being right. Tell me what you need. That's what real friends do. They don't say, I told you so. They just help. Jessica flew in the next day. She held me while I cried. Helped me plan. Gave me strength when I wanted to give up. We're going to destroy him, she said with absolute certainty. He messed with the wrong person. He has no idea who Sarah Mitchell really is. She was right. Michael thought I was weak. Easy to manipulate. He thought wrong. Because my Aunt Rachel didn't raise a weak woman. She raised a fighter. And Michael was about to find that out the hard way. 6 weeks after that ultrasound appointment, I did something Michael never expected. I organized a big celebration party at my bookstore. To celebrate the baby, I told him. I want all our friends and family there. Make it special. Michael's eyes lit up. More people to witness what a great husband he was. More people who'd feel sorry for him later when his wife was exposed as a cheater. That's a wonderful idea, he said. Let me help plan it. No, I smiled sweetly. You've been working so hard. Let me handle everything. What Michael didn't know was that I'd invited some very special guests. The IVF tech who helped him. The private investigator with all the evidence. Ashley, his girlfriend. Dr. Porter and her sister Rebecca. Police officers. And a news reporter from the local station who'd been investigating Michael for months after hearing about other victims. The party wasn't a celebration. It was Michael's execution. And I was going to be the executioner. The party was on Saturday afternoon. Michael spent all morning getting ready, fixing his hair, choosing the perfect outfit, practicing his fake smile in the mirror. I watched him. This man who'd lied to me for 3 years. Who tried to steal everything my aunt worked her whole life for. Who'd planned to destroy me completely. He had no idea what was coming. None at all. And that made it so much sweeter. The bookstore was packed. 70 people. Decorations everywhere. Food tables. A small stage I'd set up for toasts and speeches. Michael worked the room like a politician, shaking hands, laughing, being charming. His entire performance was so perfect. Everyone loved him. Everyone thought he was such a great guy. Such a devoted husband. If only they knew. But they were about to find out. In about 30 minutes, everyone in this room was going to see Michael Hayes for who he really was. I walked up to the stage, picked up the microphone. The room went quiet. Michael smiled up at me from the crowd. That fake smile I'd learned to recognize. "Thank you all for coming," I said. "Today is supposed to be about celebration. About truth. About justice." Michael's smile flickered. Just for a second. "My husband wanted to make an announcement today," I continued. "So I'm going to help him do that. I'm going to tell you all who Michael Hayes really is." I pulled out the folder. The same one Dr. Porter had shown me. This man standing right here isn't a teacher. He was a teacher until he got fired for having affairs with parents. He isn't poor. He's stolen over $2 million from women just like me. He isn't honest. He's a professional con artist. The room went silent. Michael's face turned white. "And the baby I'm carrying?" I looked right at him. "It's not his. By his design. He paid someone to use donor sperm. His plan was to wait until after the birth. Then accuse me of cheating. Take everything I own. And disappear." Gasps filled the room. Michael tried to speak. "Sarah, honey, you're confused. The pregnancy hormones. I have proof." I held up the papers. "Bank transfers showing you paid the IVF clinic $25,000 to switch the sperm. Messages between you and the tech discussing the plan. Photos of you with your girlfriend Ashley for the past year. Receipts showing you stole $60,000 from the school." Ashley stepped forward from the crowd. "He told me he was divorced," she said loudly. "He lied to me too." The IVF tech came forward next. "I'm so sorry," she said, crying. "He paid me to do it. I've been sick with guilt ever since. I've given my full statement to police." Then Dr. Porter stood up. "This man did the exact same thing to my sister 5 years ago. Destroyed her completely. Took everything she had. I've been waiting 5 years to see him pay for what he did. And today, finally, he will." Rebecca stood next to her sister. She was crying but smiling at the same time. "Thank you," she mouthed to me. 2 police officers stepped forward from the back. "Michael Hayes, you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, theft, and embezzlement." They put handcuffs on him right there in front of everyone. The room was dead silent. Michael looked around desperately, looking for support, for anyone who believed him. Nobody did. Everyone just stared at him like he was a monster. Because that's exactly what he was. "Sarah, please," he begged as they led him away. "We can fix this. Love you. Think about our baby. That baby is going to grow up knowing their mother is strong," I said calmly. "That she doesn't let anyone take advantage of her. That justice matters. And that monsters like you always get caught eventually. Goodbye, Michael. Enjoy prison." They took him away. The bookstore erupted in chaos. Some people were crying. Some were hugging me. Some were calling their friends to tell them what just happened. Jessica wrapped me in the biggest hug. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "Your aunt would be too." Michael went to prison for 7 years. Fraud. Conspiracy. Multiple counts because there were multiple victims. His face was all over the news. Serial con artist finally caught. Other victims came forward. Women he'd hurt years ago who were too scared to speak up before. Seeing him in handcuffs gave them courage. In the end, he'd destroyed 11 women's lives. 11. And he'd felt nothing. No guilt. No remorse. Just greed. My baby girl was born 4 months later. Healthy and perfect. I named her Rachel after my aunt. The strong woman who taught me to never let anyone take what's mine. I reached out to the donor through the clinic. His name was David. Nice guy. Grad student. Had no idea his donation was used for fraud. We decided he could be part of Rachel's life if he wanted. Just as a friend. An uncle figure. Rachel would know the truth when she was old enough. But she'd also know that family isn't about DNA. It's about love. Jessica and I are closer than ever now. She's Rachel's godmother. We laugh about how I didn't listen to her warnings. I told you something was off, she jokes. But she never makes me feel bad about it. That's what real friends do. My bookstore is doing better than ever. Turns out, being the woman who took down a serial con artist is good for business. People come from all over to meet me, to hear the story, to feel inspired. I wrote a book about it. It became a bestseller. The money went into a fund for Michael's other victims. Sometimes I think about Michael in prison. Does he regret what he did? Probably not. Men like him don't feel regret. They only feel anger at getting caught. But I don't waste too much time thinking about him anymore. He's in the past. Rachel and I have a future. A bright, beautiful future that he tried to steal but couldn't. Because you can't steal from someone who fights back. You can't destroy someone who refuses to break. Michael learned that lesson the hard way. My daughter is 3 years old now. Happy, healthy, surrounded by people who love her. She doesn't know her origin story yet. But someday I'll tell her. I'll tell her about the bad man who tried to hurt her mama. And how her mama fought back. How she got justice. I'll teach her to be strong. To trust her instincts. To never let anyone make her feel small. That's my Aunt Rachel's legacy. That's what I'm passing down. Strength, courage, the absolute refusal to be a victim. Thank you so much for watching Fleck's Revenge unfold. If you enjoyed this story of justice and want to see more, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Tell me in the comments what you would have done in my situation. Would you have confronted him immediately or planned revenge like I did? I read every comment. More incredible revenge stories are on your screen right now. Click one and join me for another journey. Until next time, remember, you're stronger than you think. And bullies always get what they deserve eventually. See you in the next story.